난 마치 꿈에서 꿈을 꾼 듯이 널 찾아서 헤매다 길을 잃어가 다신 깨지 못해 너란 꿈에 살아 Everyday night on
Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we're going to be taking a look at ATEEZ's Inception dance practice. Now, I have had a Patreon who has been so kind to me as to send me a spreadsheet of all of the B-sides of ATEEZ's tracks where they've performed them at concerts or things like that, but they do not have a dance practice. What I plan on doing is doing all of the dance practices first in my marathon, and then after that I'm gonna go back and try to cover as many B-sides as possible before the end of 2023 at the time that I'm recording this video. So I just want to let my fans of ATEEZ know that are on Patreon, that is what I plan on doing marathon-wise. I do see that there is so much more than I was originally intending on reacting to, but I think it's going to be super fun. So just want to let you know that, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at this one. I think it's going to be really fun. The Fever era. We got some blue hair in this one. Okay. Nice. This is a good style on them. Woo, that was nice. Little city boy rock on that. Wow. Okay. Nice. We can definitely start seeing in this era, because I know a lot of you guys were saying that Fever was the era for you, and I can start to see why. This is where you see a lot of their refinement, like that right there. Great refinement of their power and energy, being able to use it to help portray a story, not just the sake of movement. And I like that. Also, I'm noticing they have a trend of having one person be a feature for a little bit before everybody joining back in. That's kind of cool. There's a lot of this happening. Yeah, it's the angsty grab of the face. Okay. Love me a good old reverb. Nice. Oh, he stumbled a little bit because he stepped on his foot, but that's life. Love that. Their vibrations are starting to become way more refined, which is great. I love seeing that because I love that they do them. They're good. They're good at them independently. It's nice to see them do it as a group. Hey! You see that little hingy over was super nice? Oh, I love that. That was cool. See that speed change at the end? That was really cool. Okay. From the top, here we go. I see why, like I said, I see why people enjoy the Fever era the most, because this is where you're seeing a lot of things start to click for them as a group. I love that. I love it. This is great choreography on them. I don't know if you've officially dived into the BB Trippin' portion of their choreography. I'm going to assume yes. Because a lot of people were saying by Fever, we got BB Trippin' in the mix on the choreography. I think it's a really great aesthetic on them, because it does match a lot of the things that I can tell that they really tailor to on the virality side of some of the movements, but it's done in a really nice way that still showcases a lot more power and energy that they know how to utilize. Or if anything, because they have like resident choreographers, they can refine it more in person. And I think like that's what they need, because that's what they needed. And I think that they're in a much better place now because they've just seen Crazy Form, right? But anyway, from the top, really like this. It feels like there's a sense of, I love just how the fringe, I love light colored fringe on dancers or performers when they do a lot of technique that requires a sense of reverb, vibration, or anything that has a flexation of your muscles, because you're able to see it so much more clearly because the fringe is readable and you can tell how much of an impact something is made by the hair. I said that about Dino with 17, and I noticed it a lot more about with them specifically. So it's really cool to see. But this energy, I love that they push the energy onto him to get it to start. And I love that we have the next group, boom, and it causes them to go back, but you notice there's somebody supporting him here. So it looks like he gets to go in slow motion, and it is freaking made him fall. What a risk. And that was a really cool choice. Part of me wishes we didn't have people in the way so we could really see that. But I do like this energy though of those two pushing him. There's there's sense of connection between everybody within that. And I think it was super cool with the turn, having the moment, boom, dropping it down. Then it looks like it's just a different person that comes up. I love effects like that. It's cool to see because he's different, but he was pulled up in a way that the other performer dropped down. And I love that they come up and they walk to a new spot, but then they're very intentional about when they choose to go down. They all chose to go down using their chest to really make it more of a moment. And also notice with everybody here that we have the energy of all of this. Just, you know, everyone's making different choices, but we're maintaining different levels are represented. Like everyone's representing a different level. It's so nice to see. And there's a sense of, you got a little rhombus happening, which gives it a sense of structure. And I really like that. It's cool. It's different. That little love that. And then having our moment. The only person looking forward is our feature. Great choice on the choreographer's part or from the artist's standpoint, because when everybody's looking away, we're going to be looking at who's singing. If the only person looking at us is the singer, it makes sense why they are, right? So I think it's really great just with the snaps. They're hitting boom with the reverb. I do notice one of them is really reverbed on that first one, and then he kind of tones it down on the second one. I love this sense of control because it's something we didn't quite have in their earlier eras, but we're able to really see it here. So I'm a fan. And now he's dropped his head, and now we have a new feature, and he also looks forward. They also go. Notice though that some of them are choosing to use their shoulder versus actually using the technique of the chest. So that would just be my recommendation. It does create more tenseness. And he's the only one that's really doing that. So that would be my recommendation to him, is to use his chest to justify that versus the, because that's going to create a more internal, intense pocket of energy here versus relax. And it just shows you're accenting a sound. So that's just a little suggestion. They go and they move over to the side, and he goes, they lean, he moves away. Now, really nice. That notice that sound. We do see them interpret it very well throughout this entire track, which is cool. Love the line, great line. But I do feel like some of them still lose their balance, like not lose their balance, but it's so freaking slippery in this room. You can just tell based on how like their legs kind of give away a little bit, depending on what formation or transition they're doing. So it's either they need to do something about that floor, or they need to figure out what kind of shoes are going to work for them, because I notice it in every single dance practice. Like it's unavoidable. And I love that energy. Boom. But notice one of them didn't quite hit. I think if we're going to dial it back, I don't think he hit it the same way as everybody else. It was over. Watch. Yeah, that boom, boom. He hit with the accent. Everybody else hit with the head. So that was the thing right there. I love the moment of him over to the side. I love this here. Boom. Now, that is an interesting choice that they chose to do. Normally, it's more subtle. you know, and you can add like a little body roll that really helps with the build. It's interesting that they put a lot of power in the arms, but it really felt like they weren't using their back as much as they could have for that part. Now notice with the circle, now here's where we start the beauty of, we're adding levels to the circle formation, because remember, I've said it a couple times on the earlier stuff, and I may reference that moving forward, but whenever we see them in their circles, and you got somebody that's lower or higher than the outside line, that works out great because it shows that we're being intentional about our feature, especially a lot of them are really similar in height, so you may potentially run into that problem. You know what I mean? So I love this though. Now they're hitting this down, and they look down. This feels like a really big Spider-Man like situation. I think it's really fun. I love that he's pointing forward, everybody else is pointing to each other. Compliments well. Body roll. And then they push the energy. Love that. Ding, 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 boom, boom. I love the build right here, but it's not too big in the energy because they allow this moment of the pull before they tailor it right back in, framing out, and then they reverb or they rebound in, because there is a difference between reverbs and rebounds. Nice little pot of array. So we are having a lot of ticking, not dime stops. Ticking, because ticking is a sequence of muscle contractions or a sequence of pops or hits. So it is really nice to see that pop of energy happen in a lot of these movements, because strobing would be the equivalent of that for dime stops, where it's here, but notice it's more subtle, because dime stops have full control the whole time, and it does give the appearance of stopping on a dime, hence why it's called dime stops. So I really do like, though, because they're doing a lot of reverbs, and for the type of track it is, it makes sense why they would go with ticking over strobing for this. Now they're all having their own moment. I love the build here, but notice some of them, well, now that I retract, because it feels like we're all supposed to do something different. Everybody was supposed to do something different, but they're matching the dynamics, so they get a pass for that. Really nice to see. It did make me question for a second because there were a lot of similar choices, but I really got to see the individuality of the extremities. Whenever your extremities make very obviously different choices, even though the lower body's the same, that helps me know we're making an intentional individuality choice. And that's what we like to see. Having our moment of stillness. I do appreciate when our singers get to be still and sing, and their other dancers or other performers that aren't the feature at that moment, they justify the other essences or other portions and layers of the track in a polyrhythmic way, so it still feels very full and communal, but it still allows more success for your singer or your feature at that time. So now we're back to the circle, but notice he's the only one that moved, which was great, and then everybody hits. But notice there's a bit of a discrepancy here. You see some of them are really kind of hitting up at the top, some are hitting directly behind. There's not a bunch of clarity that's happening on this type of movement. So that would be my note, to make sure when we go full, we don't want to go so full that it ends up over tensing and limiting our range. So we want to be able to have control on what part of our body needs to go that full out energy, because so many people think they know what full out is, but no one ever tells them. Like my dancers, a lot of times I would ask them, do you know what full out means? And some of them are like, no. Even though they're like elite level competition dancers. And I'm like, you don't know what full out means. Because a lot of times, it depends on who talks about it, but I know for me, here's how I was taught it was, and it's been very effective when I word it like this, at least to who I teach it to. So I'll tell you and you let me know if this actually is helpful. Full out means you are giving energy to the focal points of the choreography. So in every move that you see, sometimes the move is, the arms are the focus more so than the legs. Doesn't mean you don't give any energy to the legs, but you give more attention and mental energy to the arms, especially if that's your focal point. You're present in that moment. Because a lot of times dancers or performers, I can't really attest to ATEEZ, but I'll just say in general, sometimes, at least in the dancer realm, they can go on autopilot, especially if they're doing something over and over and over again. You can kind of go on that autopilot muscle memory mentality. And as a teacher, that's something that I always try to push my dancers to prolong and avoid for as long as possible, because you don't end up growing through the autopilot. You become content and you start making habits, or we get to see your habits and it doesn't look like you're really giving your 150%. Now, I'm not saying that's the case here, but I'm going back to my full point with going full out means that you're going full out mentally, like you're fully engaged in the energy of where your focal point of your choreo is. So for that example, with, I think that's San is going full out with this whole body, but the movement doesn't call for the whole body to go full out. You see what I'm saying? You want to have a particular image in mind whenever you're having the full out energy. So he can't go full out in range here or he's going to be off. So he has to make sure that he's going full out in the muscle group back in the back and the bicep tricep in order to make sure it's as full in range as possible, but he can't do it for everything or he's going to over tense, which is exactly what we saw. So that is my suggestion. That I know we end up seeing him heavily refined in that area, but if I was talking to San of this era, I would say, hey, I would suggest not being mindful. Just because you can go full energy on all of it doesn't mean you should. You know, that's where refinement of energy comes in, which is the exact point I made at the very early eras, and we're already starting to see progress in here. He's not sticking out as much as he used to when it comes to the energy and the, not the flailing, but just like the pull and the push of just, you know, and the power. So I'm very appreciative that that was my first thing that I caught. And we're almost a minute in. That right there, that's City Boy Rock right there. That's very TikTok if I saw that. But also, it does come from, not TikTok, comes from City Boy Rio, I believe, is who did that, possibly. Now this right here, I do find it interesting. I think we did need some refinement on that arm because some people were doing triples, some were doing doubles, it just kind of depends. That punch was nice, that boom, that ooh, and they dipped it down. That was nice. That da-da-da, and they hit it down. Really nice on the, like that top rock variation. That was fun on the footwork. Bringing it up, boom, and then everybody else came up great on the feature part and they bleed it down. I love how much he committed to the ankle. I literally just popped my neck just trying to do it that far. Boom, all the way down, bringing it down, bleeding it through. Yeah. Hitting it through. So I think it's interesting. Boom, boom. It is an interesting dynamic to kind of hit or texture to hit. Boom, boom. And it's a little bit syncopated. So I think they did a pretty good job both times. So they're here, boom, bleeding it through, all the way up, boom, doon, doon. Having a moment. Hey, and they kick. So this kind of breakout. Normally they would have bigger issues in range on their kicks, but I already see major improvement here, which I love. I noticed that we're pretty full out, I think, with San. It's really nice to see his essence and presence, but he's not sticking out like a sore thumb, which I appreciate. I love that moment, that with the arm, bringing it through. They're all reacting to each other. I love it. They picked that up. Boom, boom, boom. I do feel like with this rotation, we could have really worked and refined where that point of the leg is going to be connected to the leg of the standing leg, if applicable. We're really seeing that range and that crossover of the rev up on the side. Not rev up in light feet, but just like you're revving up a motorcycle or something of the nature is what that gives off. And it didn't feel like everybody was on the same page of how big the crossover was going to be there. Now from here, digging it down, that boo-doo-doo-doo-doo, this is a good example of rock and hinge and where your head placement is. So notice a lot, if not most of them, are really digging over or tilting over using the hip, like where the hip joints are. That's where they're tilting, and that's where your rock comes in, but some of them are kind of more at a higher angle, but he's lower. So that would just be an overall note to make sure everybody's hinging at the same degree regardless of height, because that's going to help make things like this feel more full, because even though they may be going the same amount of energy, he looks like he's marking it more because he's not as low as he is. So those are just little notes and details that can further refine the unison sections that we see. But we've already seen significant improvement on these rounds. That boom, 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 boom. Really nice choice there. Love that ding, 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 ding. Full commitment from everybody. I appreciate that. Bringing it in with a transition. Boom, doo, doo. Now, love the level verified here. Super fun, and I love that they're all still slow. We still have a remote with our feature because he is separated, but he is on a lower level. I love this utilization. It's great. It's what they need. And I love this here. Boom, ch, boom, ch. It's also interesting that we have people going opposite directions. It is different than everybody going the same. It's kind of fun because everyone's committed to the same range of their direction, which is why it still works and it's complementary. Now, I love what he does here. Brings it around. I do feel like he crashed just a little bit. So a crash is whenever you don't fully execute a breaking move cleanly. You kind of have some contact with the floor with parts of your body that aren't supposed to touch the floor is what a crash would be. So as he goes, he hits it, brings it around. A drop down, boom, he hits on the knees. Well, maybe that wasn't quite a crash. It was more of an alpha kick. So it was kind of an ingrained, yeah, boom, 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 boom. He hits it, bring it over. That kick, bring it around, bring it through. I won't really call it a crash because I could think he was supposed to go on the knees to transition it over. So I'll take that. Then from here, it's nice to have him have his moment. Everybody move over. He pulls it through, then it goes do-do-do-do. Then we have a kind of moment from one of our guys coming out. I love me a good angsty cry is what it gives me, you know. It feels angsty like this and like this and like this. You can't avoid it. Sometimes it's just good to have a nice little angsty cry on stage. Now I love this little body roll wave. That was nice. And this goes back to they're all, you know, they're like, we're doing good, we're doing good. They're having a moment. He's able to have his moment right here. They're all wearing the same t-shirt. And that could also help with like just when people wear the same thing, but they're all wearing different bands. Sometimes that really helps with the unison. And I've talked about that. Some crews decide to wear different things. Some crews decide to wear all the same thing. And that does affect the overall cleanliness of your routine because your garment and how it falls on you and how the material moves with the techniques that you're doing can influence the overall aesthetic of what you're doing. And I talked about that about one of ATEEZ's tracks specifically. So I do find it's just so interesting. The walks is really nice. Boom. I love that where he hits and then I had that moment with one of them dropping. That was a really great moment of connection with everybody. And I love that everybody went down and they had a reverb. So a rebound and reverb are different. I don't know if I talked about it, but I did mention it earlier, so I will talk about it here. A rebound is the equal amount of energy going down to up, and a reverb is going from big to little. So you're kind of timing out the energy. Here, that's a reverb because you're going big to little and you're not keeping it going, which I really like. And everybody was pretty much on the same page. I'd say about two of them kept going just a little bit longer than everybody else, but it didn't bother me. And I love that just the energy and the pulls of all of that, bringing it in, moving it through. I love that run through and then that tension of the stop and then having half of them front and half of them back. The beauty of even numbers because you can have symmetry like this, which I really like. So they're hitting it over. Notice some of them feels like we're marking a little bit more, but it's probably because of San's energy and how he hits it. So it makes sense. And I love that they have that moment where he brings it over. And now we're back to them being together. And I really like that angsty cry. Love it. That was cool. Boom, do. So it's important whenever they go up, having that energy to drop it back down was a really cool choice. That little da-da, yeah. Bringing it over. I still feel like the kicks there could be a little bit cleaner. That D. I hear where they're trying to go for it, but it's just some people's kicks are not quite where they need to be at the time that they need to be at. Love the pulls of the features going to and fro on their formations and the levels being represented to help make that happen. I see a major improvement there just from the previous earlier ones that I had seen. That right there is still really nice. It's still nice. I will say, I just find it so interesting where they're choosing to grab. It just feels so obvious where they're grabbing and they're like investing in that grab. I'm not going to say anything more about it. I just find it, normally you see more conservative attempts whenever people do that kind of movement. That feels not conservative at all. So you guys give me your thoughts on if that's ever been brought up on any forums or anything. I just find that very interesting for a K-pop group to just go for it in that way. And y'all let me know too. I'm assuming all of them are adults too, because there hasn't, I don't know at this point in time how old they were. They all feel older than 19. At least the energy they give off, they give off that, but I don't know, you let me know. I know with XG, I'm very aware of their age, but here I actually don't know their age range at all. So you let me know. Boom. Bringing it through. I like that. I'll say the second time, it's not quite as refined on the angle of the hands. Then bringing it through. I love that where they hit it, but you notice he stumbled. The reason why is he actually landed on his shoe. And so I think it was a good recover. I hope he's okay, but it looks like he hit near the front part of his shoe, which is why I don't think it's like that big of a concern. If he like hit it and caused him to roll, that'd be a little different, but I feel like that was just, he caught it and then he fixed it and it is what it is. So I'm not going to chalk it up to anything more than that. I love that boom, boom, boom. I love the energy of the feature on the side because it is more than what we're seeing over here, and that should be the point. We should maintain him. And he's disappearing into the wall, which shows you he's doing a very good job of being more extroverted in his movement. There's our angsty energy, boom, 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 boom. But notice, I would say the one who does it most ideally would be my guy right here. He's doing a pretty good job on that. He didn't quite rev it up as much as he needed to in order to do it. It could be because his head wasn't fully committed, not 100%. But anyway, it's still really cool. And I love how he pulled him up. It's subtle, simple, but effective. It's really nice to see. He throws them, boom, da-da-da. Yep. And they hit it. Boom. Love that. Yeah, where you not da. Now, is this as refined? No. But do I appreciate the attempt of the build? Yes. So when you see, I love that he's making his effort to really pull us to the center where he is. But notice though, there needs to be some heavy refinement on these arms. Some of them are choosing to bend them. Some of them are keeping them straight. That would just be something that needs to be clarified. We really do feel that his is really bent, but his is trying to keep more straight. There's even a little bit of a hyperextension. And that's another thing too, is when you have people, performers who have a hyperextension, that can affect the overall angle. I did mention that about, I think it was INCEPTION, because I just reacted to INCEPTION at the time of this video, so it's fresh on my mind. But there's probably others that I've mentioned about that. Some people use it to their advantage, like Bailey Stock does in some of her hyperextensions. She uses it as a gimmick, almost as a texture justification for some of her movement. But in this way, when you see everybody supposed to be doing the same thing, that can work against you in the angle refinement that you're trying to come across as. Oh, hold on, there we go. Yeah. That turn was really nice. Boom. Notice he's a little slippery in these Tims right here. These Tims are freaking sick. I think those are Timberlands. They're sick, but you gotta get some hairspray and spray on it or something to get some traction, my guy. Goodness, it's not helping you as much. Also notice that one of them really was, the spacing was a little off there. He was a little too far out, my guy right here. If he was a little bit further in, I think that would have been more symmetrical. But I love the high five. That was really fun. I love the energy of this. I love that. Ha! Looks like they're upset with each other. And that's okay, because it's for a concept. It's cool. It's cool. We're fine. They walk away. They don't want to talk to each other. They're upset. And we have a singer in the middle who's expressing it with his vocals. I totally get it. Melting it through. Let the boom here. Notice with one of them, he does a really good job. And it probably could be because of his hair. But there's the eye being covered up. I did ask in Patreon, and you guys said there's a good chance that that is like, your eyes are covered, meaning like the confinements of the arts, and it was like a whole thing with lore. But I totally got it when I read it, but I don't know if I articulated it even close. But I do see that they do use this imagery. It is cool. I like it. It's a vibe, and I love that all of them they're expressing with their energy. I could tell with him, he's our vocalist. They're all having a wonderful job of expressing their angst. Oh, I didn't even finish my thought. So my guy that has the light gray hair, I know he also has grayish hair, but he's like really light bleachy gray hair. He had like the little extra oomph to his movement, like a little extra, probably like a hit pop or something compared to everybody else. And I really like that choice. So honestly, if they were to make the choice, I would want everybody to do it the way that he did it. Let me just take a little look back. There, right there, boom, boom. He has a little shoulder hit. He hits it. And I know some of them do it, but his was just very distinct. It could be because of where he is and the fact that he has lighter hair, so I could see the reverberation off of his fringe. But I still really like it. And he goes through, boom, we have this angst in our hand. They all break away. That little boom, boom, love it. Yes! Be upset. And I love the fall here. That was really fun, and he crashes with his energy. I really like when he has his personal presentation like that. It's really enjoyable. Yeah, and they reset right there. Boom. And then they go down, tilt the head with the knees. Yeah, I'm dreaming, da-da. So it's really nice to have that. And it's pretty powerful, too. They're not being subtle about it. And the track doesn't call for subtlety, either. I think it's a really great call for them to do that. And everybody move and everyone go, boom. Really great choice from our feature to be still back here so we could see him. And then see our new feature by placing his hand up. Great choice. That's definitely a K-pop idol 101 thing to do, or when you're in a group, if you want to be the feature, put your arm up, or do something that is different in nature from everybody else, but you're still doing the same choreography. That's a modification that's going to show us that that's who we need to clock and look at. Focal point. It's all psychology. I love it. They all stand up, and I love how he comes up, boom, 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 and we got the angsty hand drag. Love it. And I love that. That was probably a really cool ending. So he goes, I'm dreaming about you, da, 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 hey! And I love that they face each other and everybody turns away except for those two who are in conflict, who got in an argument with each other, it feels like. But I really like this. This was enjoyable, and I'm already seeing major progress, and it makes me more and more excited to get to more and more fun things with ATEEZ. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I was helpful in some way. And I've been thoroughly enjoying my time with ATEEZ in my marathon. And like I said, my goal is for the month of December, for the time that I'm recording this, I want to get through the majority of ATEEZ's dance practices, like all of their official ones at least, and then try to tackle as many B-sides as possible. But even after the month of December is over and I have some left over, I may still just slowly tackle those too, because why not? They're there. And I think it would be really fun to continue to watch and analyze what they do, because I feel like all groups showcase just different aesthetics and concepts differently, and I think it's really cool to see ATEEZ approach some of these concepts in this way, because I do feel like with this style, it does read really well with them because they can do accented movement pretty well. It's just a refinement thing on the collective group in unison that I think could still use some work at this point in time, but I do know they really do a better job of that later on. So I am excited for that. Once again, I am Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye!